the situation is this: there's a picnic, the annual summer picnic with the company, right? And we're developing these recreation products, and the upper management is of course thrilled with it. They had the guys from Goldman Sachs there, and we had a beautiful showing at the lake, and everybody was very impressed. And so the top man, see, not Gigax, Don Noble.
Oh,
Mr. Noble,
the CEO of the whole corporation.
Mr. Noble comes into the recreation department, and he had this. He says, Hank, he says, what we should do for the company picnic is you and your boys should put on a show.
A water corner.
That's right. Demonstrate to all the employees this tremendous stuff that we're doing. I mean, this is the cutting edge of Rubbermaid. So anyway, the personnel department, of course, comes over next, and they say, well, Hank, you're going to be the MC of this thing. We're going to make a whole special show. And they had a little raised platform down by the water.
Put you in a sailor suit.
You guys, better put some kind of a thing together. So I get together with Doc and some of the other boys, and we went down. See, another thing is, anything you did, nobody would ever say, oh, geez, it costs a lot. They were just thrilled that you did it. Like one time they sent me off to buy boats, and Betsy and I drove in a company station wagon up and down the East Coast buying boats. I mean, not great big ones, but comparable, just so it could be analyzed. So anyway, so in that way too, we could take time off or spend the weekend and go down there and practice our thing. And so we had a water show developed. See, we had like 4 Hellion boats with Mercury motors on them. And what we did is we took 20-horse motors, right? And then we took masking tape and put a great big 10 on the side. See, so they looked like a 10-horse motor, right? But it had actually twice the power.
And that even fooled the state boat police down at the lake.
Yes.
Yeah,
because
they could never figure out how come the boats went so fast.
So anyway, we practiced this thing, where they would weave into each other and stuff, and it was getting pretty good. See?
Near them.
And so then we had that, and then came the thing that we had thought of that would be just fantastic. See, Rubbermaid's first big product is a dustpan. Right. They gave out Thai class, I still have one, with a dustpan out of it. And that's what put Rubbermaid in the picture in the 30s. And so we came up with the idea that we would build in a model shop a great big dustpan that was actually an aqua sled, right, that you tow behind the boat. And then we were going to select a Miss Rubbermaid to ride that, right? And then the guys in the personnel department, however, came back and said, look, there's going to be a lot of trouble, because if we make a selection and we pick a girl, whichever way, then all the other girls are going to be mad that they didn't get picked. So we said, we got this figured out. We're going to take a man, right, and give him a dummy bikini and put a wig on him, right? And so we had this big thing going that there's going to be Miss Rubbermaid. And then every department said, who's going to be Miss Rubbermaid? And in reality, none of them would be Miss Rubbermaid. It was Alex Rose from the lab, who is
None of them wanted to be when they saw
Alex. Yeah. Remember Alex? That was Mr. Gross.
Oh yeah. Oh sure.
Yeah. So anyway, so Alex Gross had the kind of a slender build, and we built a hell of a bikini for him, all stuffed out and everything. And the way this worked, see, we had a dual team of Hellions towing this big dustpan, see? And the staging area was across the lake, but we didn't
wonder how the Japanese got ahead of us.
Hours spent. Solved that right tonight, didn't we?
See? And so anyway, across this little lake, was our staging area, and the only thing we had was waving signals. Like that. There was no radio communication, right? But we had practiced this several times, and so now what happens is first came the Hellion team out, and they're running around the lake, like this, and of course, and I'm standing up there, and I had thought of what I would say, and I had a pith helmet on. It was hotter than hell. Stand up, good afternoon. We're from the recreation department. Just want to show you a couple of our new products. Now that is a Hellion out there. He's probably going about 30 miles an hour.
His little 10 horsepower motor.
It's anyway. The show went off well at first. See. And nobody hit each other as they went around.
Yeah, and they did the old, eye through the needle, and
yes, that kind of
people were jumping into the wakes.
Yes,
and it looked pretty spectacular. out there in the
it's
little.
like a Cypress Gardens. Huh?
Yeah,
see,
just like a mini.
Alex was part of the thing. He would demonstrate our latest model, 7+4, which was a 7-foot long, open little pram, see, again with an outboard motor, and he would sit in it, and of course he was light, you know, and real agile with it, and he'd have the motor around, and he'd go around, see. So anyway, then comes and then I said, well, very soon comes the moment we've all been waiting for, and nobody knew that we had this dustpan. We figured that's going to be fantastic, and it was painted with silver glitter, and it did float, you know, everything had been tested. See, but what I didn't know is that this guy, Alex Gross, who was an avid camper, see, had gone camping and had vacation a couple days prior to this, and had scheduled this in to be on his return trip with his new trailer to stop by at this lake, do his stunt, and then go home. And so what it was is they weren't ready because there was no Miss Rubbermaid yet. And the thing is coming on, and I'm frantically waving, and I'm saying, oh folks, it'll just be a couple of minutes, they're just getting set over there, you know. And they would wave back, you know, and what the hell's going on? Well, the problem was that this guy never showed up, see? And so finally, they selected some gal quickly, see, who didn't even work at Rubbermaid.
Miss Rubbermaid.
Because what happened to Alex Gross, on the way back, he was all set to do this, right? But they had used this camper for a couple of days, and it had a holding tank. And as he's coming towards this lakeside, he sees one of those recreation areas where you can dump your holding tank. But there was a brand new trailer, and he had a family of several people, so the holding tank was good and full. And he pulls it up to this thing, and the hose coupling somehow was different from what it was on his old trailer. And so what he thought was a good hookup was not. And he hooked it up and pulled a valve, and the excrement went horizontally all over the place. And the guy there, the commandant, came out yelling and screaming and made him clean it up.
Miss Rubbermaid.
Miss Rubbermaid.
It's
Sweeping the
actually
shit all over
screaming. And so that was the beginning of our problem. So anyway, so in the meantime it's getting less, and so I have Alex running the little 7x4, and he would run by once more and yet once more, and people are getting tired of this stuff.
Yeah,
and the guy
I wasn't a real good performer.
No, actually you did all right.
Yeah.
You were just running back and forth.
But when everyone's waiting for Miss Rubbermaid, that's hard to.
Right. And so anyway, the guy from the personnel department, see, comes over to me, and of course you could hear it over the phone, over the mic. So he says, "What the hell's going on? Many of you guys did it." And I said, "I don't know what the hell's going on." And of course, and so people are beginning to get restless. Oh, and another thing, Miss Rubbermaid is going to land down here on this dock kind of thing, and we had the top people sitting on chairs down at the dock. They're sitting in this broiling sun. Nobody's coming, right? And I figured their broil will transmit into my problems next week. And something desperately has to happen, see? And so anyway, all of a sudden they said, "Here they go, oh, here comes." And so what they did is they got some gal off the beach, whatever, and talked her into standing on there.
On the dustpan.
That's right, on the dustpan, see? And the gal standing like that, right? And the thing is coming, and with that, one tow rope comes off. And so one Hellion, other one who was pulling the dustpan, of course, with two of them, it was plain nice, but with only one, they couldn't. And the thing barely stays afloat. The gal is on the
riding sideways. Huh?
total disaster, I tell you. Oh my God, you know. And so with that, the guy from the personnel department left the stand. He got out of there. I'm standing all by myself in the sun, and I don't know what to say. It's terrible. And so anyway, and they're supposed to tow this thing, and the guy that still has the dustpan on him is doing valiant. He got it all and he's pulling it up to the dock, right, where this the company president, Mr. Noble, he's walking over, to help he knew all about this, to help the girl off, and here is some chick from the beach, right? It was beginning to be a bad show. Now we have the jet boat. This is the Canadian jet engine, see? And it was a real super performer. I mean, it was the wildest. The thing would throw up a hell of a rooster tail, but we only had it running like maybe for 2-3 weeks, and they were we had cooling problems because that Curtiss Wright motor is sitting back there, not enough air, so we built a big air duct for it, and that was just like finished the night before. They worked like hell installing all this stuff, and Doc Lind, he had a real terrific helmet on, right, with a suit that said Rubbermaid on the sleeve and all. He's getting in there, and I'm trying to recoup from this terrible disaster. Right? And they said, but now, folks, here comes the most, the newest development of Rubbermaid, our jet boat. Yes, folks, it is a jet boat driven with a Curtiss Wright 4-cylinder, and all this
And
stuff.
that was supposed to be the peak of the whole show.
Right, see? Yeah. And so with that, and I can hear them warm up now. I can, I hold the
And
mic.
it was loud.
Yeah, across the lake over there. See, and they say, here he goes. And he would come in there with this rooster tail. And again, he gets towards the middle of the lake, and he gets slower and slower and slower. And you know what it was? They had forgotten to hook up the water suck intake cooling for the motor thing. And it was not it was a water-cooled motor. And that wasn't hooked up to the motor itself. And so she was pumping water into the boat. And he sang in the middle of the lake in front of everybody. I'm going to tell you, this was so terrible. And there was enough foam in the boat. I mean, the motor gurglingly stopped running, right? And the whole thing just, and Doc, climbs out of it, and he's hanging on to it, right?
For help.
And I know that Mr. Gigax, Vice President of Engineering, he just looks at me and he just shakes his head. I mean, how low can you get? There I'm standing with my mic, right?
The latest
You could've
product,
said-
a submarine.
You could have said something like, had you all fooled, didn't they?
I was totally speechless, and I said, well, it's an experimental situation. And with that, I shut the mic off. Was that terrible, I tell you. Man.
Did you ever tell Dave the one where was he in the truck?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
You mean the station wagon?
the
Yeah,
station
station
wagon.
wagon.
Sinking the station
You remember that
wagon.
one?
Oh,
And then
God.
he just zoomed down.
That's another one. Oh, man.
Doc was always in
See,
Had some experiences, yeah.
Right, prior to this debacle with the jet boat, we had developed a technique where we had an old, that used to be a
partially
station wagon.
developed.
And we took a station wagon with a sawzall and cut the whole back end, the roof off of it. See, and therefore made a little truck out of it for our experiments. And because the little Hellion boat was the size that fit inside the station wagon. And so we would, to launch it, we would just back it down the launch ramp at the lake until the whole, I'd look back, and when the tailgate would go under, Doc would sit in the boat already, and he would just reach back and pull on the starter, get the thing started, and I'd have the whole back end of the car in the water, and then he'd put it in reverse and just literally just pull right away. And then we would do some tests or whatever and take pictures, and then I would back down in the water, and he would come, and he'd just go right in, and I'd drop her and drive, and away we go. So you'd never pick the boat up or anything, and it was slick as could be. See? And so some guys from the advertising department, Gil Johnson was the name, a very advertising-ish kind of guy, see. They'd been down to the lake to look at this thing because they had to prepare some kind of a thing for the trade show, a demo or whatever. And he thought that was the slickest thing he ever saw. And he says, you mean that fits right into a station? I said, yeah, this used to be a station wagon. And of course it would. Of course. He says, well, we got to have that, see. And Ketchum, Grove, and something else was their name. A big ad agency was our agency. And so they set it up that we would have a boat that was painted like a racing boat with a big Rubbermaid on the side, and Doc had his jet helmet on, which later on...
Again?
Yes. No, this was before that. And we had it really... And then and they were going to shoot movies, and they brought in all these people. There were trucks and guys going around like this, and the whole bit, see, down at the lake. And so anyway, I checked out a new station wagon from the motor pool, because what they do is they would lease every year, new wagons, and there was a separate building down there where they had all the sedans and wagons and stuff. You have to go someplace, you check one out, see. And so I'm going down and I'm told to get the best looking for this thing here, see. And so I'm driving down to the lake with Doc and I'm not holding you up or anything, right? No, oh, okay, anyway, we're driving down to the lake and we've put this Hellion in there, and Doc is already sitting back there. It's not that far to the lake because these people are waiting for us and we're going to give them this slick presentation, right? And we're all fueled up. I mean, we made sure that everything was fine, right? And so anyway, we're arriving down there and there's all this VIP crowd around and you get a little jittery, wow, it's just, but I mean, we've done it so many times. I'm telling them about the boat. The Uncle Frank requested that I tell them about it. Right? Yeah. So you poor guy, you heard the story 18 times.
I love it every single time. I got something to do in.
Yeah, right. So anyway, so we're arriving, right, and there's the trucks there, and there's sound guys, and I mean, this is a real production, see, and also vice presidents and all kinds of people. And I'm a bit nervous, right? And I said, Doc, you sure you got that? Yeah, he says, Hank, we got this all set. It's okay. See, and Gil Johnson was the head of the advertising department, and he was a real ass kisser to start with. And he comes over and says, you boys ready to go here? And say, oh yeah, Gil, everything's super. So, well, might as well get right going there. Okay, everybody ready? Ready, all this kind of stuff, see. And so with that, there's a launching ramp that you back down, right? And we pull up like this, and I line up with the launching ramp. And we're going down the ramp, and I'm sort of a little nervous. And Doc is sitting back there, and he says, yeah, okay, let me know when to start it. See, I'll let you know when the water's coming up. And I'm backing down, the ramp, but I'm going kind of easy. And I'm backing down. I said, son of a bitch, man. It seems longer this time. Because I'm watching my tailgate, and it's still not underwater, right? And I'm saying, I'm going further and further, and all of a sudden I hear this gurgling sound. And I turn around, and there's water in front of us. And what had happened, this is a brand new wagon, that damn thing floated. See, the old wagon, which we had cut down, right? It was so many rust holes in it that it just went like a submarine right down in there. But this thing here was tight. See? And no wonder the tailgate didn't go down. And the only thing that went down was the front. Right? And so we're backing in and the back end floats. And I'm just letting it further down. And all of a sudden the fan is going, the engine was, it didn't splash on the ignition just yet, right? And so I'm looking, with that I said, oh my God, I'm yelling out something, whatever, and these other people there, they got us in there, and they're just mesmerized. Never seen anything like it, And I'm panic stricken. Oh my God. And so I yank the thing and drive, right? And step on it. Of course, it's nothing. And the speedometer goes to 100, just like that. And so with that, I yell back, Doc, start the motor, because I figure his head beyond it. Sure, see? So Doc reaches it, and he gets the motor running. It's like, go ahead forward, give it all you got. And he's back there. And I got the tires going in the wheel wells like a side wheel steamer, right? And the speedometer is like 100, 110. And I'm looking over and I can see past the post of the door against the shoreline. We're making headway. I'm thinking, I'm going to sink right here. This is terrible, And I'm so terror-stricken with this whole thing and all this time. And of course, Mr. Schneider, the big vice president,
what do they have in mind?
We got the guys, we had them come from Pittsburgh, and they got the truck and the sound stuff and the whole thing. This is terrible. And so anyway, and I'm sitting and I'm saying, oh, please, baby, go. God, don't stop. And the engine is just going, and we're slowly gaining, see? And the Mercury, we had a big prop on this, it's a 20-horse Mercury, not a 10, right? and it's all helping, and we're coming back, see? We're coming back, see? And I'm sitting there, and I remember just saying, oh my God, oh please, please. And with that, all of a sudden, the back wheels connect with the and I'm registering about 90. I want to tell you, the acceleration is unbelievable. And we shot out of the water. I can't believe it. And the thing that I hear behind me is this terrible clattering noise. And I remember as I'm scooting skyway, I'm just quick. And there sits Doc in midair. He had the damnest expression on his face that you can imagine. And I actually pulled right out from underneath the boat. And he sat for a split second suspended in midair with his outboard running wide open. And with the fancy helmet. And I know like this. And he just fell down on the carpet. And of course the propeller blades flew in all directions.
There must have been outboard motor everywhere.
That's sickening sound.
All on film.
It took me like 100 yards or so to stop that.
I had an envious of drag strips everywhere.
I tell you, it was unbelievable. And so I jumped out of the car, so it was shaking. Everybody had run from all directions to help Doc out of this boat. We just wham!